In 1980-81, a group from the Canadian Council of Retirees and the Metro Labour Development Fund was formed to establish a cooperative housing building to provide decent, safe, affordable home for retired people. The seniors in that planning group decided they didn't want to live in a ghetto of the aged, and so they established the concept of the 60-40 split of 60% seniors and 40% younger people. Stanley Knowles spent his lifetime acting as a voice for the voiceless, the underprivileged, the disabled, and seniors. He educated, cajoled, dragged, and shamed other Ottawa MPs into establishing legislation which would offer at least some protection for the less fortunate. He was tenacious in his mission, and throughout his long life, he lived a very frugal personal life in an Ottawa boarding house, refusing the annual increments that the other MPs voted for themselves. When it came time to choose a name for this new co-op, that of Stanley Knowles topped the list. What better way to recognize the voice of the voiceless than to name a thriving, cooperative, caring community, the Stanley Knowles Housing Co-op. For Stanley, it was a great source of personal pleasure to visit the co-op on several occasions, and each time he would repeat that it was a thrill to see our members living in harmony in a wonderful, clean, safe building. He would say, and I quote, "Usually buildings are named for individuals after their demise, and they never know about it. I am so lucky to have enjoyed my namesake while I can still appreciate it," end of quote. Well, it was a very exciting time because we started from ground zero. You know, there was no infrastructure at all. And so we had a beginning board of 7. Iona Samus was the first board chairman, and she'd been on the original planning group from the Council of Retirees. And so we had that to start with. Then we started committees to help with maintenance and membership and finance. And then the whole social recreation development you're going to hear about later from Nancy Denton and several other people, so I won't elaborate on that. But it grew gradually, and not without its ups and downs, but it was exciting. And I think we've built well in our 15 years.
Our first big event was in June of 1984. It was the official opening of the building, and it was a great afternoon. We had, you know, quite a few celebrities. Stanley Knowles, you know, was there. Lovely person, nice to meet him. I think Roy McMurtry was there, and Art Eggleton, and some other MPs. I can't recall their names now, you know. And it was a lovely event.
All I can say that it was a tremendous learning experience for me, that I knew nothing about co-op housing. I'm sorry to confess. So it, you know, I just had to learn the whole thing, and I got on the member selection committee, which was very helpful.
It was such a thrill to be starting all over, you know, in a new building, and everyone here was new. And so we all sort of learned together and fumbled our way around as people moved in, and the building started, you know, getting finished, and we started meeting for the first times in the different committees and getting together socially and stuff like that.
Hi, Helen. It's so nice to see you. I hear you've just had your 90th birthday.
Yes, last week.
That's lovely.
Several affairs.
Affairs?
Luncheons and dinners and
She's
the whole
telling you
bit.
she's well fed.
I don't know what they'll do for my 100th.
Oh, that's wonderful. That makes you our oldest member now in the co-op.
I think maybe.
You are an honored member. Well, that's great. What about you, Ken? How did you happen to come?
Well, Nancy, before we lived here, Marguerite, my wife, and I lived in an apartment complex just south of Davisville and west of Yonge Street, just past the railway yards there. And we've been there for a few years. The rents were going up every year. Every year we were going down to the Ontario government office to have a fight with the landlord. And I was getting very fed up with this nonsense. You just didn't feel comfortable at all. You never knew what was going to happen next. The place was nice enough, fairly well maintained, but I happened to be reading a newspaper after dinner one night, and I read this article that was in there. I think it was set in by the coordinator, Nancy Travis, about this co-op over the library, just above Eglinton Avenue. I said, Mark, we've passed that I don't know how many times. We never walked past it, but we've driven past it. Well, we always wondered what it was. Now we know. I said, you know, that might be the answer to some of our problems.
We had figured that the contribution we could make would be a social one, because I had a background in the theater and dance, and Wally was a very sociable being. And this is the way we started off. And I presented the idea to Nancy Travis, the coordinator at that time, and she said, well, why don't you call a meeting? I said, okay. So I did, and 34 people showed up. None of us knew one another. And out of that grew initially what they called the Cultural Committee. And then we organized and broke up into the Education Committee and so forth. When we started out as a leisure time activities program, we had no money. So it was through the New Horizons grant that we got the money to do these things, and also to sponsor some of our trips.
Yeah.
You know, to go down to, you had to rent a bus to go to the Shaw Festival or the Stratford Festival, and what we could charge our members for that, plus their tickets, and a dinner there was quite a bit. So we subsidized everything we did. Then we brought in the Smile Theater. We had them here 3 times. And I know that Ken remembers the last time we had them here, Winnie in the window, about the...
There's a light in Winnie's window.
The light in Winnie's window, okay.
That was great.
Yeah, you loved that one, didn't you?
Every time the light went in the window, they had another child.
And Dave Bradford.
Yeah, that was your baby. You phoned him, didn't you?
Yes, I phoned him.
And what happened?
And then we got talking about what he would charge. And I offered him $75. And he didn't reply. So then I said 100, and he says, okay. So he was wonderful.
We discovered each other as a group, what is it, 100 people? We discovered each other, and that's how many of those policies have been formed as well, of the need what we've got, or concern of one person, and oh yeah, and that's with the committees too. It sort of became out of that, with the social services as well as social recreational, as we have planned the first Christmas party. And there, the recreational committee has been kind of born, and people took care of the party, and we have a kitchen committee and this and that. And
Oh, yes, sir.
yeah, it's growth, it's life. That's how I feel.
Looking after people. I can remember you looking after Len. Remember
Yeah,
he was in a
Len,
wheelchair?
because of his seizures, yeah.
And
We
we'd
took
go and
turns,
feed him. He couldn't
yeah.
feed himself.
Yeah, we took turns.
But then he complained that the girls weren't young enough.
We had a few experiences here at the co-op, but I suppose the one that most outstanding happened on March 31st, 1987. I was awakened in the morning by a boom that shook the apartment. The dishes were rattling in the cupboard. Of course, I run to the kitchen and I saw through the sunroom window black smoke just rolling by, and I thought, oh God. So I went to have a look, but before I got to the window, there was a second bang, and this time yellow flames came up around the corner of the building. Well, at that point, I was out of there. I left everything to the wife. So no, I did. I took off looking for the emergency measures to put into action now. I knew we had big trouble. The alarms were sounding, the lights went out, and I guess shortly after we realized the transformer had blown up. I would say less than 3 hours, the board of directors had convened and were already putting into motion plans to pull the co-op together and to deal with the crisis. And indeed, the first day or so, I suppose there was some emotional things going on, and people were worried and concerned. There's no hydro. How long with no hydro? And our emergency generator started up, but it only gives lighting to the hallways. There's no light in the apartments. So people were working and living, those that stayed, by candlelight and lamps and flashlights, and there wasn't a store around the neighborhood with a battery left. Everything was sold. Our coordinator at the time, Nancy Travis, she gave her all to help. Like extra hours, and all the regular routine was just stopped, and now it was just help get back on track. And that, in fact, is what happened over the next few days, and the community grew. In my view, it grew a lot stronger, and it was truly a co-op. It was a co-op, as opposed to a private building in the middle of the city.
One of the things that impresses me about the co-op is how everybody helps you. Like last year, I had a knee renewal operation, and I was embarrassed with what people did for me and gave me and brought me sandwiches and, you know, knocked on your door, do you need anything, do you need any shopping? And it's incredible to think, and of course I try and do my share of that too, because it's up to all of us to keep each other going, I think. And the other thing that I think is great is the meetings that we have. I never knew about Robert's Rules of Order. I wouldn't have known what to do about I don't know, an amendment to something. Right? And I'm very impressed the way people know about Robert's Rules says, and I think, oh gosh, here we go again. But everybody is called for 7:30, and people get there for 7:30, and they attend, which is really something. And everybody's given an agenda, and the agenda is followed, and if you want to add to the agenda, you do. And it's kept, and there's no nonsense. No, they don't start talking about the last time they went to Paris or anything. It's a meeting of some kind, and by George, it's that meeting. And so we don't have long meetings. Sometimes they're a bit tedious. Everybody just gets very nervous when the auditor's going to come and explain the financial statements or something like that. But I think on the whole, they're very good meetings. They're well attended, they're prompt, and they follow the agenda, and what more can you ask?
When we moved in, I think we had a small regulatory book about this thick of the do's and don'ts in a co-op. Now it's this thick. And I think in certain aspects, it keeps people involved, it keeps them young, for the people that are not working, put it that way, the retired people. It gives them something to do, interest in themselves. And I think that without that, the co-op really wouldn't just do as well possibly as it does.
The one thing that I remember is that I don't go as Greg's superintendent alternate, because you have to walk down from where you are down to the main floor when there's an emergency. And I'm on the 11th floor. Well, by the time I got down to the main floor, the place could be in shambles, you see. But I remember that once when I did get down, one of the lady was the alternate superintendent, and there was a fire. And she did exactly what she had to do, and she was great. She was about that high, and all the men who came downstairs eventually told Florence, it was Florence Super, told her what she should do. She had done it. And it was all incredible. And she would look up at these tall men, and they would be looking down at her, telling her something, and she'd be telling them what she'd done. Whenever I think of Florence Hooper, I could die laughing because she was so sweet, and she did exactly what she should do, and that was that.
There was no children in the building when we moved in. Like, there was no children allowed, and then there was that was changed. The policy was changed about that. There was a young couple in the building, and the wife was pregnant, I think. But so that kind of changed, and
didn't the government change
yeah,
that?
well, they had to do it too. Yes, they had to. Well, I think they thought here, because of where we were located and with this deck out here, it was kind of dangerous, you know, for children maybe too. And that in a way, there was no area for them to play in either, you know. So, but however, it's changed, and now we've quite a few children in the building, and we all enjoy them.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought cats in. I smuggled the cat in here when we moved in. And I had the cat here for, I guess, 12 years. The ladies knew it. They didn't say a word. But my cat was a quiet cat. And damn it, as soon as they made it a bylaw that you could have cats, my little kitty, she was 18 or 19 years old, she kicked the bucket. So I never bothered since.
I moved in here in 1992. Christina was only about, 9 months. It was wonderful because, you know, it was just perfect. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, and I needed more accommodation. And here was this place everywhere. Aside from the amenities around here, it's a perfect place to live. What I enjoy the best about living at Stanley and Osquap with my daughter is that you know everybody in the building. I feel safe. I like being around a lot of older people. It helps me to get used to the fact, because my parents aren't here. She needs to know that life has a cycle to it, and the cycle, you can witness it every day. You know, there's a life and death process that we go through here.
I learned about Stanley Knowles. A friend of mine was living in a co-op, and she had a friend who actually lived in the building. So when I came and saw a building, I was so impressed with the layout. The people were, just as we walked in the door, and I know it's silly, but they all had their shoes outside the door, and I thought, oh, that's great, you know, it just felt really homely. My son and I came to see it, and we just loved it. So we've been in here, and being a teenager, I was thinking, you know, sometimes older people are, you know, I was worried maybe how they would react to a teenager, and he has got nothing but great response from people. They've been just like so kind to him and really nice to him and sort of like motherly to him, and he really likes it. He really enjoys being here.
I must say it's certainly a form of extended family due to various aspects of caring. We grow, we tell each other, we do things together on committee level. It's just a certain warm network. Basically, because I moved in here without knowing the language, I needed a lot of that, and I didn't have any family here either. So I was amazed by all those events and happenings and gathering, and breakfast clubs we ended up having, the parties we arranged, which partially goes to the committees as well as they've been formed, with caring about the neighbor. I remember one particular episode with Roland. I was very ill at one time, and I needed to get up early, very early, and I worked till 10 at night, come home at midnight and get up at 6. And being a neighbor, where, I don't know wherever you find that again, he says, I'll call you, I'll be up anyway. Then another lady in the building, don't worry, I'm always up till midnight. I'm a night owl. If you want to talk, you can talk. And it's definitely such a comfort of living, of closeness, of being understood.
Valued.
Yes, definitely. The self-esteem. When you feel down, all you have to do is check your mail. You go in the elevator, you see smiley faces. How are you? And they call me by my name. And it makes you feel special, and you are someone. It's just, that's the part I really, in terms of life. And you grow throughout the years. When I think back, we have grown.
I could say personally that if I hadn't lived here, I probably wouldn't have done some of the things, or been able to accomplish some of the things I've done. And I really appreciate that, because I was able to go to university, I was able to complete my degree, and that took some time and some effort. And because I had a stable place to live that was comfortable and felt safe, I was able to pursue something that big.
So living in Stanley Knoll has been very good for me. The experience that I've acquired as a member here, being on the board at one time as a chair, certainly opened up my eyes in terms of organization and communicating with people and trying to, how can I say, do what is best always for the organization, and you can't think of the individual. That's one of the good things about Stanley Knolls. And people do take great pride. I take an extreme amount of pride living in here.
There's so much experience in the co-op, and everybody is so willing to share. And that's what I really liked about the place. They share their knowledge. They don't just want to keep it to themselves. You know, so when I'm on this meeting, and they're really willing to help me instead of just saying, well, you know, try and muddle through. They don't. They always give me their input.
And one of the benefits for me in my growing was to meet people from other parts of the world, like yourself from Germany, like Ileana from Argentina, like Slavka from Yugoslavia, our members from the Caribbean. I hadn't known people from any of these countries. And I lived in Canada for over half a century. So this is growth, if you're willing to reach out and be respectful of other people's culture, and if they are also willing to find out about the new Canadian.
Not this summer that just went by, the one before, 97, I guess. I got into a frenzy of looking at condominiums. People at work were all buying houses and cars and this and that, and I thought, gee, you know, it's time for me to buy a condominium. And they're springing up on every corner, as you can see. And I started getting really excited, getting all the floor plans and going to see them, and which one had these, you know, amenities and marble staircases, and, well, which price was the best, and all that sort of thing. And I had a list of what I thought I would like or need in a home. So I went around with that list in mind, plus whatever was a bonus, right? And after searching for, a good 4 or 5 months, I kept coming back to the same thing. Like, there was nothing that had all the things that I really wanted. There was no one building. Some of them had extremely good things and not so great other things. At one point, there was a building at Adelaide and Sherburne that I did sign papers for, and you have the 10-day cooling off period if it's a new home, and thank God I did. I cooled off very quickly. I realized that everything I was looking for out there I had here.
The one thing we found living here has been so easy to get to know people.
Yes.
You join a committee and right off the bat you know a dozen people.
It's a very, very good place to live, I think, and I have excellent neighbors. I think I have the best neighbors in the co-op, and they all think they've got the best ones, but I really have the best ones. And I don't tell them, I don't insist upon it. And on the whole, it's just a great place. I'm very glad I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles, for your life of dedicated public service, and thank you for letting our co-op share your illustrious name.